Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa. Today is a little bit of a different video for those of you who watch me for books because this is a doll video, BJD, ball jointed doll video, kind of catching up, talking about where I've been, what I've been up to, my current doll collection. I've never thought I'd feel so awkward filming a video of the same type that I used to film like 4 years ago. So I have been in this hobby now for like, I want to say almost 11 years. I'm not entirely sure on that one. I know that it was shortly after I got married that I started researching them, and then I think like a year after our marriage I finally got one. So I've been in this for a while. I have taken a 5-year hiatus essentially. I think I filmed a couple videos in between, but then I kind of just fell off the face of the earth, doll-wise. It just wasn't my passion anymore for a while. I had a lot of things happen in the last 4-ish years that have really put a damper on the hobby for me. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that and where I've been, because I know that there are a few people who are still subscribed to me from the dolly days. I hope you're still here. I don't know. I feel like there might be, because I still have a lot of subscribers from those days. So I thought I'd just catch up, honestly. I've been back in the hobby now for a few months. I own more dolls as of late, and I have really been enjoying it again. I even have notes kind of to help guide me through this video. It's not going well so far. And I just wanted to come say hi. And I've missed doing doll videos. I have missed creating. That moment when you realize you have lipstick on your teeth this whole freaking time. At least it was 3 minutes in, so haha. Sorry if you hear dog noises. I have a dog now. If you don't watch the book videos, you wouldn't know. But I have a dog now, and I have a cat, and I've moved. I think my last video was in my apartment. A lot's happened in 4-ish years. I think my last video had to be like 2018 or something. It was the year I got Hollis's body, and then I just never updated after that. I just kind of fell off the face of the earth. So I thought I'd catch you up. So why the hiatus? There are 3 major factors as to why I've taken such a long break. The biggest and the main one being I have a kid now. That whole pregnancy really derailed a lot of things in my life, creativity and dolls being one of them. You guys recall I was in the hospital for 2 months with my daughter because she tried to make an early escape. Thankfully she didn't make too early of an escape, but it did kind of hurt the hobby in a sense. I didn't take any of my dolls to the hospital during that time. I'm really glad I didn't, because there are still some books that I tried to read in the hospital that I can't pick up anymore without thinking of that time. And I think if I had taken a doll, it would have had the same effect. So having a kid really affected that. And she was in the hospital for 2 weeks after. I didn't see my house for 3 months. And when you have a kid, and when you are pregnant, things happen to you physically and mentally. I was in a very, very dark place those first few weeks of her life. Thankfully, obviously, nothing came out of that, and I'm okay now. But it definitely was a shock. I never thought I would be that person, but I struggled a lot with postpartum depression and anxiety, and it really affected my creativity. And thus, after, having a kid is a lot of work, obviously. I knew that going in. She is 5 now, and we're finally getting to that point where I feel like I can start figuring myself out again. For a while, I just felt like mom, which is not a bad title to have in this instance. But when you go from creating stories and characters all the time and drawing all the time, I don't think I did any drawings for a solid year after she was born. There was just so much going on, and I just had no mental energy. and my creativity was really shot after that. When you go from being that super creative person to my life being changed in a wonderful way, but revolving around one thing, it really took a toll. I didn't write, I really didn't draw. All I was doing was reading, because that's all I had the mental energy for and the time for. So like if she was sleeping, I was reading or sleeping. And that's still the case to this day. That really took a toll on me. We also moved. I think it's been what, 3, 4 years? I think my daughter had just turned 1 when we finally moved. So it's been like 4 years, and that had a lot to do with it too. There's also been a lot of other things in my life these days in the last couple years that have also kind of just mentally sucked. I am still happily married. I'm still doing okay as of now. But there was definitely some times in my life in the last 4 years that I was not happy, and my dolls were the last thing I wanted to work on. So life and my child has been a little crazy and has kept me from being that creative person I used to be, until like the last 4 or 5 months. So another factor to my hiatus is, again, the creativity. I lost so much of my brain function by having a child. I didn't want to create. I didn't want to make things. I didn't have ideas. And it was almost like my head was filled with static, and I hated it. And the more static it was filled with, the more I didn't want to do things, and thus more static shows up. And I think a really big blow to that was I was finally starting to feel myself again. We were moving, I was in a new space, I had, my kid was growing up, I felt like I could do a little bit more. And I was gonna pick up my dolls again. I was ready to paint one of them. I don't remember which one. I think I was gonna repaint Bright Eyes, which we'll get to her in a minute. But unfortunately, during the move, I lost all of my crafting supplies, which is wild because we didn't move that far. What we think happened is it was in a cardboard box. Our basement in our apartment got flooded. We threw the whole box away, which in the moment makes sense. It's not salvageable, but it was all in a plastic bin. So it would have been, and we just didn't even think about it. So we threw it all out. So all my face-up supplies, my crafting supplies, a whole can of MSC, all that stuff. I looked for days trying to find this. I even asked my grandma, because we live in her old house. I was like, hey, did you happen to take it with you on accident? And she didn't. I couldn't find it. And then on top of that, I lost the notebook with all of my story ideas. Specifically Hollis, if you remember her. She's a pirate. I will show her later. But I lost that, and I was devastated. I cried for days. Probably a solid week I cried because, after you have a kid, memory is shot. Like I don't remember what I did yesterday kind of deal. It was devastating because I was like, I'm never gonna remember any of this stuff. So all my ideas, all my character bios, gone, just disappeared. And I had to essentially start from scratch. And that put me in a depressive state too, because I was like, well, maybe I'm just not cut out for writing stories and making dolls. And my dolls literally sat on the shelves up there for years. I didn't touch them. I didn't want to look at them because it made me sad. And that's just kind of how it was. So that was upsetting. And the third one would definitely be YouTube. I think it did have a bigger effect than I thought. Around the time that I kind of left, a lot of other people left too. And, we all go through phases. I think a lot of us were feeling a little burnt out. It was a good, several years of our lives where we were making a crap load of videos. And there comes a point where there's no more stuff you can talk about. There's no more content you can make. Your dolls you're happy where they're at. There's nothing else to do. And then there comes that crash and burnout. And I think a lot of us went through that. A lot of us had that burnout, and that's okay. Hobbies sometimes go a little stagnant for a few years. and then they come back. So I definitely think that had a big factor in this hiatus as well, because of the fact that everybody else was, and it was a big part of inspiration for me, and the creativity was watching other people talk about their dolls. And again, I don't blame anybody, like I totally get it, I am part of the problem. But it was hard. It was definitely hard because I felt like I made real connections with some people and made friendships, and then they just disappeared. So, and I'm sorry if that was me to you. I hope we can reconnect. Okay, so now on to why I'm back, the exciting stuff. So there are two factors as to why I came back. One being my Suni, which is wild. I still have her. So I bought my Suni, I want to say in 2018, I think maybe 2019. I honestly can't remember. I bought her a while ago. She is stunning, but she was going to be an old character, and I was not bonding with her at all. And I hated how she looked because I loved her face up too much to wipe it, and it just wasn't fitting. So she sat on the shelf too because I refused to get rid of her because this is a very difficult sculpt to find. And then I had the brilliant idea, let's change her character. Let's scrap this character. As close and as old as this character was, it just wasn't working. There was no connection. She was a sci-fi character, and I am not a sci-fi gal. Don't know what I was thinking. I've matured in these last few years in my storytelling and what I like and what I don't like. So I changed her because I am a fantasy girl at heart. So I thought, I've been having this idea in my head for a while about a fairy medicine woman, essentially, who uses plants and herbs in the human world to heal the fae, and it kind of just spiraled from there. And then I thought, well, maybe she'd look good as this character. I slapped on some red hair, and that was it. She became Tegan, who you will see later. She's sitting right here. I keep staring at her. She's so pretty. I changed her in cottagecore clothes because that's really what I've been into, and I kid you not, that was like maybe January, I'm not sure. It was pretty recent. And she essentially saved the hobby for me because I was very close to considering getting rid of pretty much all my dolls except Hollis. But every time I picked them up, I couldn't do it. I did sell my MSDs. I no longer have Bright Eyes, and I no longer have Damien. I sold those a long time ago. I just wasn't connected to their characters anymore. I never finished their story. I am a terrible, terrible person when it comes to finishing things. I am not good at finishing stories, drawings, nothing. And it was the same problem with Bright Eyes and Damien. I never finished it. So I sold them. And I'm glad I did, because I felt like they were holding me back a little bit in the hobby. But at the same time, I really do miss my Celine. Like, that's literally it. I might get one another day. Who knows? But, you know, having Tegan and changing up her character and her story really made me remember why I loved this hobby. I picked up my dolls and changed them for like the first time in a long time. My pirates had the same outfit on for a good 2 years, and I changed their clothes, and it felt really good. I started sewing again, and that's kind of how that all happened. I was like, oh, this character really needs a shirt. This character needs this. I bought things for Tegan again, and that helped a lot too, because I was actively looking at things in the hobby, looking at ideas, looking at clothes and wigs and all that good stuff. And I think the second factor, most definitely, is I made a new group of friends in this hobby, and they have been fantastic. If I can, I will link their Instagrams. They are fantastic. I got on Facebook because I was like, I wonder if anybody's still in BJD Addicts. Sure enough, yes. People are not crazy like me and leave. There was quite a few, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm just gonna put it out there, see if we could do a virtual hangout. So I did, and we had quite the turnout. I set it all up on Discord and everything, and I made so many wonderful new friends. And after that, the rest is kind of history. We started a little group chat, and we hang out maybe every other week, and it's been wonderful to talk to people who are into the same thing, have a problem with spending massive quantities of money on pieces of fancy plastic, essentially, and inspiring each other. It's really what I was craving and what I was needing to kind of get that push back into the hobby. So I'm very grateful for them. They are wonderful. We send sales posts, pictures, memes. It's pretty ridiculous. So on to the fun stuff. My dolls. How are they? They're doing great. They're here. They're ready to say hi. So I currently own 1, 2, 3, 4 and a head, because I'm down one girl body because I sold my Supia body. I couldn't stand it. Ironically, I strung it wrong, but it was annoying before then, so it's all good. So my girls are currently sharing a body. I'm on the prowl for a new one when I have the funds. So let's get started on a few quick introductions on who the heck is still here. We're gonna start with the oldest because that's how we roll. I have a couple floating heads as well that I'm trying to sell. So there's that, if you're wondering. I'll link my profile Instagram below. You can go check it out. But my oldest one currently is Miss Hollis, who is currently bodiless. I would really like to get a new body for Tegan, but at the current moment, this is where we're at. I was like, well, I could switch them out before I film this. You know how hard it is to get these freaking heads on? It's so difficult. Tegan's more so than hers. It is a pain in the butt to switch them and change their clothes because they don't wear the same style. It's annoying. So, disembodied head. This is Hollis. You guys might remember her. She's a Supia doll Naomi with this ratchet wig I made. I love it, but it's ratchet. I think that was my last update, was that I got the body and I was gonna make a wig next, and then I don't think I ever showed the wig. I can't remember, but it's alpaca. It's really pretty, and I painted her. For those of you who don't know what these things are, BJDs originally came from Asia, specifically Japan, and then it kind of spread from there. It's all over the place, but specifically Japan and Korea. Korea has kind of like taken the market by a storm. They make so many pretty dolls over there. They're fully articulated. You can change out the bodies, obviously, but the eyes, the hair, they come bald. You paint them, customize them, and that's a big part of this hobby. Is the customization and creating what's in your head into 3D. So, but yeah, you buy them blank, you buy an artist's work blank, and then you make it your own. And that's essentially what I've done with all of them. It's kind of a thing and a problem that I have. She's very pretty. She's definitely my best face up. And I remember showing this face up on camera, and it's still here. I think she needs a little bit of a blush refresh, and she did take a face plant not too long ago, hence the chips in the head and the eyebrows, but I literally don't care. So yeah, that's all. Okay, so the second oldest is Tegan. This is Tegan. She is a Feeple 60 Sunni on the Moe body, which I bought a while ago. I did a whole box opening for both of these. I actually still have box openings for pretty much all my dolls, except for the newer ones. So there's that. So her and Hollis, I have box openings for. So yeah, she has a professional face up, and it's gorgeous. I can't wipe it. I did do the freckles though. But she is a fae. There's a whole story to her that I'm currently writing. That helped a lot too. So Tegan has kind of been the redemption arc of my hobby. Because I started writing again. I've been writing a story about her and the next doll you're gonna see. And I've already written like 15 chapters. And I reread them recently, and I love their story. It's so cute, but it's a romance, which is not like me at all, but it's a fantasy romance, so it's all good. She is my most iconic doll out of the crew. Everybody sees her and they're like, oh, I know her. Actually, it was funny because we've been doing in-person meetups again, and a lot of my friends were like, you didn't bring your Sunni. I'm like, I'm sorry. She didn't fit the theme. So, that's Tegan. Next comes the big boy. I say big boy because he is the tallest. I think he's taller than Rook now, which you'll see later. I don't know. They're about the same height. So this is Embry. He goes with Tegan. He is a Dulce Aramis on a charm doll body. I recently got this body for him. because I didn't have an extra boy body and I had the money, and he was a steal. And this body's really nice. So he is gorgeous. Probably my best face up next to Hollis, my best boy face up. I just love his sweet face. I've always loved smiling dolls. If you've been here a while, you know. You know, I love smiles and teeth. That's kind of where we're at. His hairline is giving old man receding hairline right now because his weight doesn't want to stay on. I did make it, so it's not great. But there he is. He's stunning. He's probably one of my favorites. All of my dolls are my favorite. And that's really nice too lately, is that I love every single one of them. There's not one that I'm like, I could sell you and get a new one. I love them all. And I think that also really helps that I am in love with all of them. But he's actually wearing Pride Eye's old eyeballs, and I love them in him. So anyway, if you remember her, I made this shirt too, and Tegan's dress I made. I made this shirt, and it looks really good. I'm getting better at sewing. It's not pretty. It doesn't fit him well. I don't know if it's gonna come off in one piece, but I can always put snaps in. I know how to do that now. But yeah, this is Embry. So then the next new one is, it was kind of an impulse buy. Because I wanted a minifee again, and I wanted a tan doll, because I've never had a tan doll. So I love Fairyland's tan. I love Fairyland in general. They have very pretty dollies, and I used to own a Celine, and I missed my minifee because of the posability. And I saw this doll, and I had to get her. So this is, well, this is a hot mess. This is Reedy. She is a minifee set. It's their newest one, and I got her secondhand for a really good price. And I'm so glad I did. I absolutely love her. She is Bollywood inspired, India inspired, because I've really been into that lately. So I had to have a doll that kind of encapsulated that. And she's kind of an interesting, spunky little girl. She's short compared to my other ones, but she's spunky. She loves dancing and Bollywood movies. And I did her face, and she's wearing a sari, which is pretty fun. I made it. And by made it, I mean I cut a piece of fabric, and I learned how to drape it and wrap it, and it's not staying on today because she hates me, but it's fine. I even did the henna and on her feet as well. And I'm really proud of it because it's very tiny line work. But yeah, this is Reedy. She doesn't have much of a story at the moment. I'm hoping to get a boy to go with her because that's just how I roll. Apparently all my dolls are couples, and that's how this works. She's the aesthetic that I want. And it's interesting because I've never been much into like modern clothing on dolls. I tried it once, it didn't go well. She's modern, but in India. And I think that kind of helps because it's something different than what I'm used to. That's kind of goes with the same like with cottagecore too. Like it's not what you typically see, and I love it. I've made her a lot of clothes. She has a bunch of outfits. I just thought I'd put her in this one because it's really pretty, and I think the color looks nice on her. But yeah, and I made this wig too. It's out of Angora hair. It's not great. I'm not good at making wigs, but I can do a good face up and tiny, tiny henna. Okay, so we're finally on to the last one. I'm sorry. This is so long-winded. Okay, so this next guy, he's the newest. I think I got him nearly a month ago. It doesn't feel like it because I feel like I've wanted him this entire time I've been in the hobby. This is Rook, and if you guys remember from the old times, I had him in with a different sculpt. They call it shell, a different shell. I reshelled him into this guy who I have wanted since I've been in this hobby, essentially, and I still can't believe I own one. This is Rook, as of now. He used to be a Midgie doll Ryu, but now he is a fifth motif feather tube. Oh, I know. How many times did I talk about this, years ago, that I really wanted him to be Rook, and I finally have him. And just for context, yes, they look so good together. But he is on a Popo doll body, because I like to hybrid my dolls pretty much these days. I also don't buy new dolls apparently, because I buy secondhand all the time now, which is something I never thought I'd do. But I got him secondhand. It was kind of funny because like 4 or 5 of them popped up and I couldn't afford any of them. And then he popped up and I could, and it was very exciting. And he was in the skin tone I wanted, so yay. So this is Rook. He is a pirate. Really could use a new body one day because he does look a little bobble-headed, but honestly I don't mind because his character is very lanky. He does have burn scars on half his face, which I did, of course, and I am still in shock and awe that I own him. So yeah, I've bought 3 new dolls essentially in 4 months. I even have a floating head that I bought for Embry. Didn't work out. Really glad it didn't. So I bought a different head for Embry. Did not work out. I'm really glad it didn't. Now I'm trying to get rid of it. But yeah, so that's my collection. This is my dolls. It's weird making this video. I hope you don't mind. It made me really happy to make it. Like, the more I talked and the more I showed and the more I explained, the better I felt. And I definitely think I could do this more often if you want. I don't know. I've done a lot of things. I've crafted a lot of things. I've made a lot of things. I've written things. Don't think I'll talk stories, but I definitely could see me showing off what I've made, what I've been up to, my future plans. So I think that's it. That is where I've been, what I've been up to in a nutshell. Definitely make sure you follow me on Instagram. I post about them all the time again. It's kind of a thing. I used to do a lot of book photos, but I just wasn't happy doing that. Like, it was fun at first, and then it got to be tedious. These guys, I don't have to do anything. I just make them stand and look pretty, and I snap a picture. That's literally it. There are no backgrounds, nothing fancy I need, just these guys. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to. If you're still here from ye old times, as I'm now calling it, leave a comment, because I would love to know if you're still here, and I want to reconnect. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you want. So it's up to you. And Rook and I may see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.